So obviously Buatsi headlined, in it. He had his show on the weekend.
What did you think, bro? What's your first opinions and first things that
Okay,
come?
we'll start on Manny now. Try to keep it short and brief. To be honest, I didn't know much about Calic, to be fair.
Yeah.
And obviously Buatsi's been out for a year, I think. So I was a bit interested to see how he was going to be and everything. And the fight was way more interesting than I expected. I thought he would just do what he's usually been doing against that level of competition, but Calic showed he was much more better. He swelled up his eye. I thought Buatsi was a little bit surprised and maybe kind of mentally kind of froze a bit at one point. Not like he was hurt, but I think he didn't kind of respond well to the eye. He looked a bit shocked. Sometimes when you haven't felt something and it's kind of new to you, you kind of freeze up a bit.
Yeah,
and I thought I saw signs of a bit of adversity for once, so it was interesting. But ultimately, I think it would be good for him in his progression, and I thought he did well, and it was a good performance. Thinking about he's been off for a year, and he's going against somebody who's not just a journeyman. He's actually going against someone who's he put some resistance, was actually winning rounds and bigger than him. Yeah. Do you know what I'm saying? That's what I thought anyway. But I thought it was a good. I see a lot of people have been a bit negative about it, but I actually thought it's actually good that he's fought somebody with a pulse and he's been pushed and he still won with the stoppage. So, What do you think, bro?
Bro, I'm gonna take the complete opposite perspective because obviously what you said was he was out for a year. When I was watching the fight, the commentator he said something good, right? He said that can't be an excuse because every fighter has been out for the year, right? So that was a good point. And also, I was a bit shocked. I think he got, I wouldn't say exposed, but I think he exuded a lot more weakness. I think people like Yard or people who are targeting him, they're going to look at that fight and they're going to study it extensively to see how they capitalize. And with Calic, however you want to say your name, however you want to say his name, I think he did a very good performance. He was very underrated, and I think his style was very awkward. So he wasn't, a typical boxer. He was very awkward, like the way he was moving, and he's very tall. I think Buatsi was surprised with that because he's very linear, he's very tense, and he comes and he brings it. But it was nice to see him get some adversity, and like you said, I think with the eye that really severely affected him. I don't think he could see out through the eye. So by the end of it, he was just throwing bombs. But he got the W. That's the important bit, and I wouldn't put him in with Yard just yet. Before, I'd say I'd want to see the fight, but I don't think he's there just yet. Maybe a couple more fights. Put him a bit with harder fighters, and it was still a good fight, but I was just a bit more surprised with his amateur background and experience. I think I expect a bit more from him.
I think I get your point a lot, and I think, like I said, a lot of people tuned in to not see that kind of fight in terms of it to be that competitive. I thought people just thought he'd get a few rounds and get this guy out and let's get a few fights at the end of the year and get him building up. I still think that personally, I haven't seen Yard fight, like, let's just take away Yard against Kovalev. But in terms of the win column, I don't think Yard's beaten anybody that has fought and showed the same desire like Calic has. Yeah. So, I mean, I'm not to say that, Buatsi or Yard, I don't know who's going to win. I'm not too sure yet. But I agree with you. I think Buatsi needs a few more fights to get his confidence. And one thing I do want to say is, one thing that I was quite critical was he doesn't move his head that much. Yeah. And I've been watching a few of his old fights back. Sky Sports put a little clip of his old fights. And he does get hit. He does get hit on the odd. And he tends to, when he trades, because he's quite sharper and he's quite faster, he tends to land first. But
he hits back.
If somebody can count him, what I'm saying, I can see he needs to learn to move his head a bit more. He's very upright. But at the end of the day, I think it was a good performance. And I think, like you said, it's a fair point. Who do you want to see him within next end of the year? What's next for him?
I don't. Because the thing is, before this fight, I say, after this fight, he's got to fight Yard. But I don't know. I think he's got to go up against domestic level. What other fighters are there?
I think they're talking about Callum Johnson and.
Yeah, they were talking about him next. I think that would be a good matchup.
Yeah. I think, like I said, I think it's time to step him up. When you fight a tough fight like that, even though the guy, his record didn't show that much, but he fought a tough fight, so you don't want to push him back a level and fight some other guy. I think it's time for him to step up. I think Cameron Johnson will be a good fight. I think he will bring it and he can hit hard. And, we need to see Buatsi in a bit more. It's time to test him out. I think with his amateur pedigree, I think it's time for him to push him up a bit. I think he's had the learning fights now. He's had the journeyman, the blowouts. He's got, a few rounds.
I think it's one of them where every fighter is just some nights you've got it and you just don't got it. And I think for this night, he wasn't at his best. He wasn't at his optimum. But I think he somehow got the win through. But the thing is, with someone else, who's got more endurance, more experience, would Buatsi be able to pull off the same result? That's the real question.
Be interesting. I don't think Yard is either, but I don't think he's a massive one-punch knockout artist also. I think it's more of an accumulation of punches and the sting of it. And so someone like a lot of these guys at light heavy, the top dogs anyway, these guys can hit hard. Like I don't think he's the biggest light heavyweight, but I don't think he's small either. I think he just makes weight. I think he's just good. But we'll see in the future, But like I said, I wasn't too disappointed. I actually like him. He's one of my favorite fighters. I actually like him because of his personality and he's does business. But
I think he's a real deal. Like, he doesn't look very big or imposing, but he's the type of guy that he'll give you a run for your money.
Yeah, 100%. You know what I'm saying?
As well,
so yeah, let's go.